Alright, I'm back with another one. I gotta go ahead and knock these out while I can because I be real busy. Having a whole lot of stuff going on as always, and then a whole lot of stuff they keep making going on, causing much confusion and a lot of extra stuff in my life. So I got to make do with the time I got, make extra time when I can, and all that other stuff. But anyway, I'm going over the transcripts. I probably touch on a few parts and points in this, but I'm gonna do a overall analysis of the situation and break it down regarding the combination of the plea and sentencing transcripts, to break it all down. I'm just giving people a first-hand experience per se of what a lot of people have went through firsthand and what I went through personally. So I'm about to all the transcripts is on here on Facebook for the plea and sentencing transcripts, and I'm about to read off of these though real quick, break a couple things down. First page, no need to read, just showing cost of the transcripts and everything. Then the second page is really another first page. It's showing his original transcripts and stuff. Then we get to the proceedings, starting off the S2, sentencing transcript 2, page 2, and it says the court, criminal trial number, got my name on it, say so-called defense attorney, went by, whose name was Sacarelli, Gail Sacarelli. Then it also has the state's attorney, who was Belinda Gardner. But Sacarelli opens up, she says, good morning, Your Honor, Gail Sacarelli, on behalf of Mr. Cox. She wasn't on my behalf. She was on behalf of the state. The court, you need a few moments with your client. Sacarelli, thank you, Your Honor. There was a pause. We are ready to proceed with the sentencing. The court's first question to the court received the court received a letter dated November 26th from Mr. Cox, wherein he expressed that the court deems to be an intent to withdraw his plea of guilty. What is his position with regard to that question? I put in that letter the reason why, because I wanted to see the judge's position and the situation. I already knew he was working with them and everything, with the state's attorney and a so-called lawyer, defense attorney, all that. But I had to, it was certain things I was doing to show forth that he knowingly and intelligently participated in what was going on. But he was trying to play it off. They had it all scripted within their own control group scenario concept, and how they was leading the proceedings, and how they had the documentation of the court hearing and proceedings presented in that hearing, and how it was documented through the court reporter and all that type of stuff. So I was just doing certain things to allow it to be shown on a record that they was intentionally doing this, not only to me but other people. And going through that. So I already seen what was the point, because he never addressed me back. He never allowed me to explain it before their sentencing or anything. He was basically like, well, they wrote me a letter, was like, yeah, we're going to proceed with it during the sentencing. So you basically telling me you don't care what I got to say because you already knew what was going on, and you just going to put me back in your courtroom scenario of a control group setting so that you could try to manipulate the situation again, because you really didn't care what I had to say, and you allowed me to plead guilty to false information and a false factual status of a plea, that was based on representation of false information, and it was not fact-finding or anything. So it was a whole bunch of stuff with that. So I was like, man, disregard it. The court was like, excuse me. I said, disregard everything. I already knew what was going on, but I just had to allow y'all to put this on record. Just like y'all told me, like the lawyer said, she gonna put that on record regardless. I was laughing. I said, yeah, I'm just gonna put my stuff on, allow y'all to put it on record for me, so it could be in the documents to show forth that I was allowing y'all to example how y'all been doing this to people for a long time. I said, disregard. So you're requesting that the court that you be allowed to withdraw your plea of guilty? No. So the court is not considering itself having the motion. The court's memorandum of November 28th was in contemplation of a more formal question. He said, excuse me for that. What? The letter. He said, look, this what he said though. This is the judge. He said, we get mail all the time. Don't worry about it. Hey, this stuff, I don't make this stuff up. He said the court's records are that on November the 8th, the court accepted a plea of guilty to count 2, first-degree assault, and count 4, use of a handgun and commission of a felony, a crime of violence. A PSI was ordered. Agreement as to sentence was free to allocute. Is that correct? Ms. Corelli, this is the so-called defense attorney. That's correct. And then she immediately said a cap of 30. So nowhere in this document, nowhere in this sentencing documentation or in the plea transcripts documentation do you ever see 5 to 10 years guidelines. You don't never see that. You don't never hear nothing about 5 to 10 guidelines. They initiated that when they brought me to court. Like I said, when I went to my plea hearing, it was actually supposed to be with motions, but I never knew I had a court date. They just took me in there all of a sudden without letting me know I had a court date or nothing, not prepared for anything. Then instead of it being my motions, they set it up for a plea deal. So all that stuff was just all set up. It was all about them controlling the scenario, controlling the situation as a setup. And this is and more so, these are the gangs that we had to face growing up in our communities and our societies. You know, they teach everybody about gangs, street gangs, and all. No, see, we really didn't. Street gangs wasn't a problem. It was these type of gangs. These are facilitated, orchestrated criminal organizations within the legal system and positions of power. This is what we had to go through. We had to face these gangs. You know, when they gang up on you as a lawyer, defense attorney, state's attorney, judge, police officer, whatever the case may be. These are the gang members that we had to go up against, you feel me? And they were setting us up all day, every day. Guilty or not. And they'll make you look guilty even if you ain't guilty. As this case clearly shows. What you call it? They say, so she went on and said it with a cap of 30. So they say the court, a cap of 30? He tried to play it off like, oh yeah, a cap of 30? He said, I didn't have my notes. Hey, yo, they was some acting Slim, they put on a good show in this joint, man. They some good actors, man. So he said, man, I didn't even have my notes. They already knew what they was doing. He already knew what time it was. He said, now, Mr. Cox, why don't you have a seat now? I will start with which side wants to begin. And then the state's attorney said, Ms. Garner, the one that is signing. So instead of her presenting her in the state's attorney, which they supposed to, which normally is protocol, they allowed my lawyer to proceed because it was all about trying to cast this false light, cast a false image of me and what went on in the situation so that they could try to justify why they did what they did. So, and then the state's attorney was going to piggyback off of that. So it'd be a double negative instead of a conflict of this is what really happened versus this. And then the defense attorney where you see an actual combination of things going on to prove a solidified point of really this is what happened. And then this is what they say happened. But this is what really happened. And this is the defense that was, it wasn't no defense. So it was all one-sided. So, breaking that down, she said, well, Your Honor, I have reviewed the pre-sentence investigation with my client. I have reviewed it myself over the weekend. It appears to be substantially correct. As you know, he is 19 years old. He resides with his parents, his siblings, and he's the oldest of 8 children. He said, as you can see from the pre-sentence investigation, it is an intact family that are very close. To say that they are very concerned about him, and that would be an understatement. I have constant contact with them right from before the preliminary hearing through today. They reside in Capitol Heights, Monroe County. His dad works as a security guard, but he used to get mad because he was the SPO. So that's why they was beefing. But him and that defense attorney, Sagarelli, about that. But anyway, she said she kept in contact with them, but she did keep in contact with them, but she didn't keep in contact with them to properly inform them as what was going on. She played a strategic role and to try to gather information on how she was going to get information to present it to the state so that it could one-sided attack me all in all. Because like I said, you're going to see further in this transcript, the position they played as in one-sidedly and gaining a tactical advantage of strategizing against me using their legal system and the manipulation of the legal process and legal laws and all that stuff, the laws and everything. So it's going to break down in a minute. But it said, in addition to that, the family has a t-shirt and computer business, and Mr. and Mrs. Cox operate that together. Donna has helped him with the business through his high school years. As far as the prior involvement in contact with the criminal justice system, there is one contact as a juvenile, and from what I've read, it was handled informally. It did not result in the finding of involved. I believe that it had to do with bringing a knife to school. I know you have read the precinct investigation, and Mr. Cox's position on that was that it wasn't brought with the intent to be used as a weapon. He has no adult criminal record. Now, this is the reason why I explained that to her. Because once again, I had to see what type of status this so-called defense attorney was on. She is putting information out that could indirectly make it look like I had some type of criminal activity or intent in my life or whatever that could be used against me. There was no reason for her to bring that up. Because, once again, it was handled informally. I was never charged with anything, and the knife was brought to school by accident because I broke down the situation a while ago in another Facebook jump about how my man came over and I went to grab a grapefruit, and he said he wanted some, so I grabbed a knife and was cutting the grapefruit while I was walking to his house to go play the game before we caught the bus. By the time we got in the house, we started playing the game. I had the knife in my pocket. By then, we had finished the grapefruit or whatever. So we went straight in the house playing the game. I forgot to take the joint out of my pocket. So the bus came early, and I didn't even think about the knife no more ever since once we got through doing what we was doing. So I forgot that I had the joint on me. And it just so happened, situations, I fell asleep in class. The teacher had me sent out of class. The same one that didn't like me because I was exposing how they was lying in the textbooks. It was, I think it was the English teacher, whatever the case may be. History teacher, one of them. I forgot which one was a client. But he sent me out to class, and then they was like, yeah, because we searching pockets, this and that. And I went to, could you empty your pockets or whatever? So I emptied my pocket. I was like, oh, dang. I was like, shoot, man, I forgot I had a knife on me. And he was like, oh, all right, well, let us pull it out for it, boom, boom. But they figured out it was a knife. It was a small, about this big, a little paring knife. You know, little Jones used to cut little tiny vegetables up and stuff. So, that was that. It was no reason to bring that up. But she took it upon herself to bring it up because, once again, it was about trying to present information in a way to make it look like there is some sense of guilt here or a mentality of a wrongdoing or this and this and that. There was no reason to bring that up. So anyway, and I only told it to her, and the only reason that the State Department or anybody else even looked into it and knew about it was because I told her, and she went and had them try to figure out something they could use against me. Hey, y'all, it's sad, y'all. So, it's supposed to be a defense attorney. He has been in custody in the case since April. He has been in custody in the case since April 24th of this year. So it was April 24th, 2011. Once again, I told you that's when they around the time they came and got me from school, saying they wanted me for questioning, but never about an incident that happened like a month prior. But they never questioned me. They took me to the police station, never questioned me, just started charging me with rack of bull crap and lying on me and setting me up. So from that point of April all the way to April, May, June, they didn't file an actual indictment until June 16th, 2001. June 16th, 2001. So I was locked up since April 21st all the way to June without even being indicted, without even having a legitimate argument presented against me through their legal system in their courthouse. But that's what they did. They just kept lying. And as you're going to see, everything was a build-up. It was a build-up. And I'm going to go ahead and break that down later on. But it was a build-up of how they strategically, gained a tactical advantage by lying, put me in prison, making me look guilty, and then continuously manipulated their legal system and process to hold me without bond, hold me without bail, and without a bond, by lying about how serious the charges were and what really happened. It was just a whole bunch of wild stuff. But as you see, she admittedly stated in here that I was in April. But when you look at my data docket entries, they changed some of my docket entries. My original docket entries I couldn't even find no more, but because it showed that I was in jail in April. It said defendant in jail in April. But then once I started raising issues about speedy trial rights and Hicks dates and all that type of stuff, then all of a sudden they changed my my Hicks date from April to June, from April to June, and then they started saying the defendant in jail from that time forward, and so on and so forth. So it was a lot of manipulation. This is why they like they don't want us to have documents that didn't come directly from the courthouse. They try to manipulate it and make it look like it's because of credibility and honesty and all this other type of stuff. But when you look at what they do with our documents and in their courthouse and in their legal system, they manipulate, alter, and misrepresent their documentations and all this type of stuff and evidence and information all the time to gain this tactical advantage. And if you don't have your documents, or even if you have your documents, they still try to manipulate ways to get around that, to make it look like you don't know what you're talking about, or you're just making stuff up. Or even if, especially if you don't have your documents, oh man, it's a field day with that, because they just abandon all rights of anything and be like, well, they just keep making everything up. Because now they know you don't have nothing to show for it. You can't prove nothing. You don't have nothing of substance. So they can continue to lie any way they want. But if you got documentations and this and this and that, then they have to get more strategic in their lives and what they're doing. So anyway, you say we've been in custody since April 24th of this year. That was actually 2001. As you see from the pre-sentence investigation, he has done fine at the detention center. He has incurred no infraction. Unfortunately, because of the charge, because of his bond status, he hasn't been able to participate much. He hasn't caused any problems either. Although he had a problem at school in Bladensburg High School with a knife incident, he did attempt to continue his education by enrolling in adult night school. He was attending adult night school, waiting for an opportunity to re-enroll in Bladensburg. I know finishing his education is very important to his parents. He is a young man that does place an awful lot on his parents' wishes and his parents' respect, and being obedient to his parents is something that is high priority for him. I see that it's a good trait. He works regularly. In addition to helping his parents with the family business, he has had a few jobs throughout his high school, mostly general labor and moving furniture. As you read the pre-sentence investigation, he has used drugs, although I don't see that there is any reason to believe that he has a serious addiction. He has participated in some substance abuse. How was it substance abuse if I just used it? I mean, but this is what they do. When we use something that they don't call legal, it's substance abuse. No matter how you use it, whatever. But they tell you it's okay to use it, it ain't substance abuse. It's crazy. Always a negative connotation, one-sided. So I guess basically, Your Honor, the question is, how does a young man from a caring family, stable family, get involved in a situation like this? And I mean, it's a mystery to me. Say, I'm not a psychologist, but it does appear to me, in my dealings with Darnell, that he's very immature. He is even somewhat gullible. He lives in an area where there is a lot of violence, and there are a lot of young people with guns. His parents, he comes from a very caring family, and they love him a great deal and are very concerned about him. But I think it's unfortunate. I think that they have sent him mixed messages as far as being responsible for the consequences of your actions. They gave him a lot of love, a lot of attention, but unfortunately he just didn't have the tools needed to go out in an environment where he was living to be able to resist the pressure from being his age, to stay away from drugs and especially from guns. Now this is a defense attorney. This is something a state's attorney would say. Not a defense attorney, but this is my defense attorney, so-called defense attorney, speaking like this. There's no way. And everything she's saying is just so misrepresented and so much bullcrap. Because, for one, you tell me, you're stating on one hand that I'm living in an area with a lot of guns and violence. But then you tell me, and then you say that a person who's in this type of environment, if they use their firearm rightfully, no matter who it is, I ain't saying me or anybody else, if the person does end up having a firearm for protection and they use it for the right reasons, they're still wrong, because they shouldn't have been using the firearm in the first place. That's what they're saying. You just got to be a victim. That's the way their system is being set up. Is if you don't accept being a victim, they will victimize you and then exploit you as a victim and then benefit from it either way while making you look like a criminal. So this was a whole bunch of bull crap, and I'm just reading what they're saying. It appears to me in a strange kind of way he's almost worse off than somebody. This would have me laughing when I first read it. I couldn't even believe it. They said it appears to me in a strange kind of way he's almost worse off than somebody who was more hardcore streetwise knowledgeable, because he was naive in a way. I don't really think that he realized the situations that he involved himself, the possible outcome. I think his parents, they baby him and try to protect him, but to a great extent, instead of sending him out into an environment that fend for himself, he was very naive. Now, granted, I'm just going to play on this bull crap that she's talking about. We wouldn't have been in this environment anyway if the state of Maryland had not allowed the people who was buying our house from in Temple Hills, Maryland, we was leasing our own. Once we signed the contract and everything, after they did that, they found someone else. They was geeking for their money. So instead of waiting and allowing us to pay like we were supposed to, they tried to sell the house to somebody else. And doing so, they sold the house and then they tried to raise the mortgage. People was like, man, we ain't gonna pay that because that's not a part of the contract with the deal. The state of Maryland allowed them to breach that contract and raise the mortgage and expected us to keep paying for it. So we had to move. It was like, no, we're not gonna get taken advantage like that. So that was the only thing available to move at that location at that time. The house we had was way bigger, big land, all that. It was like, I think it was 1.5 acres, big old house. Had the creek and everything. I was like, Slim, stop playing, yeah? So your state of Maryland victimized us, allowed us to be victimized and victimized us, put us in set it up so we end up in this type of environment, and then you're saying it's our fault that we're in this environment. Come on now. Anyway, you mean to tell me that a person, I'm gonna touch on that later on, but let's say thank God in this case Mr. Ford survived and he's okay, and it didn't turn out to be worse than it is. I think Donnell, because his family he comes from, because of the way he raised them, because of the way they have raised him, he does have a very good foundation as far as principles. He knows the difference between right and wrong. He is not a sociopath. He is not somebody without conscience. He is somebody who wasn't equipped to go out into the area where he was living and be able to deal with what was around him. It's sad, y'all. These are the people who are put in these positions of power and who are exploiting y'all children and setting people up and allowing people to set your people up, your children up. They say, I think he would be perfect candidate for the Protection Youth Program. I think he is just blunt. He needs guidance. It's a long-term program, and I do think that he needs that. I don't know how much you know about the program. I know you have to enter the program before you are 21, and of course that is not a problem as far as we know. As far as I know, there is no waiting list. If the court refers him to the program, there's a good chance he will be admitted. It has been a while, but I talked to the director of the program. He gave me some information. He says at least the first 4 months, there is a review and evaluation by the review board. Basically, they need to course recommendations. Ultimately, ultimate acceptance of or rejection is done by Mr. Joseph Hamburg. Who is the director? It is different from the regular Protection Institute in that it is voluntary. If it is accepted, you cannot leave it. You are in there until your sentence is completed. Again, it is based on behavior modification, and there are opportunities for young people to participate in all types of job training to give them the tools that they need for when they leave the program. The very last stages of it are work release. I would ask you to consider the program. I don't know if you know about it, but if you want to take a look, the judge, the court, I probably know enough, lawyer. That is all. Before I go on, now part of the how they explained the program was that they said the program was 6 months per level. It was 4 levels, 6 months each level. If you stay out of trouble, she's like, if you stay out of trouble, no matter how much time you get, you can get out in 2 years. But then in his documentation, she said that you have to stay in it until your sentence is completed. So on one hand, they're telling us one thing, and then on the other hand, once you get in court and you thinking that, okay, this is what it is, you listening to what they're saying. Now they're saying, oh, we got the power back. We can say we want on the documentations and in the courtroom and allow it to be documented one way, even though we said it another. This deceptive tactics that they allow to go on in their courthouse and what they do in their practices when they're setting people up and allowing people to be set up. And that's why it was a whole big issue with all that. So once again, like I said, the 5 to 10 years went out the door. You don't see 5 to 10 years nowhere in these documents. He said the plea was the guidelines for the plea was 5 to 10 years for first degree assault and use of a handgun. You don't see nothing about 5 to 10 years no more. Alright, so Ms. Gardner. Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I will begin by stating that the protection program is probably a program that is very appropriate for this defendant. The court, I'm glad that both of you have said it because it is on my piece of paper here. Continue. Ms. Gardner, Mr. Forbes is here in the courtroom today. I have spoken to him at length about what happened and the circumstances surrounding him getting shot in those early morning hours. In the pre-sentence investigation, what really glares at me is the fact that what Ms. Saccarelli refers to as a defendant being perhaps immature, I look at it and I see something quite different. I see a person that is not taking responsibility for his actions. He even, when interviewed by parole and probation, denied that he shot Mr. Forbes. He said not only does Mr. Forbes identify him as being the person who shot him, but the two men that was there with him defending that night, that were being Gaddy and Whittington, both state that that the defendant was the person who shot Mr. Forbes. Mr. Forbes doesn't even know the defendant. Mr. Forbes don't even know the defendant. Had not seen him before that night, had no beef with him that night at all. His beef was, if he had one, was with Mr. Gaddy, where they had some type of physical altercation earlier that evening. Now, noting this, as I expressed in the affidavit a couple videos ago, and when I was breaking down the affidavit and the charging document and stuff, the detective falsified information and tried to make it look like his information that he was presenting against me was so credible, should be deemed credible because the so-called person who got shot knew me and had known me for a while, and therefore that gives credibility to the testimony and the affidavit that was being presented at that time, which was all based on false information and how they locked me up on false information. But now at the end in the sentencing, the state's attorney say the defendant don't even know me. So she basically painting a picture. Now they done reversed the situation, and this is the manipulation tactics that they do. On one hand, they say one thing just to get what they need done, and then on the back end, they say another thing just to get what they need done. It's all about lies. That's what they do. They are liars and deceivers. You feel me? That's what their system promotes: deception. And all that honor, honesty, nobility, all that honorability, all that bull crap. It's all for show. You feel me? They don't believe in none of that. You feel me? So she was breaking all that down, and I was like, man, going to the jump. She said the defendant just refuses to take responsibility for his actions. He comes before the court and says he would let God handle his fate. She missed the whole point of what I was explaining. I said I'm gonna let God handle it because I already allowed them to prove that they was the deceivers we kept talking about the whole time. These are the deceivers we talk about in our neighborhoods and in our lives and in our struggles of the people who get into these positions of power, do anything to become a state's attorney, do anything to become a judge, do anything to become a police officer, do anything to become whatever they can be to destroy anything good and manipulate whatever situation they can for their own personal benefit. That's why I said that. I said I'm gonna let God handle it because I already knew what time it was when I first got locked up. But they missed, and the whole thing is my man's in when the whole situation happened, after it happened, I said, son, word for word, if y'all ever get locked up and they start lying on you and trying to set you up, say I did it because I'm going to take the charge. Word for word, what I said. When I said that, my other man was like, dog, I never do that. And I started laughing because I said, I know where y'all hard at, bruh. But you dealing with some deceitful people, son. You don't know these devils like I know. These are the same type of devils that got my cousin killed. Because they took it upon themselves to think that it's a grandeur, good act and good conduct of their community of police officers and detectives to just allow, instead of doing a proper investigation, it's okay for them to just allow on people and manipulate information so they can constantly use that information to their advantage of how they want to do it, just to lock people up and convict them. They didn't care about the truth. They don't care about the truth. All it is about them trying to lock people up, set people up, so they can advance their careers and whatever. If they advance their career in being a state's attorney, advance their career in being a lawyer, detective, so on and so forth. That's all it's about. All that honesty, honor, good thing, and all that. As long as they making money off of it and they benefit. There we go. That was crazy right there. My other devices had 100% on it. This one, I'm tripping. So anyway, continuing on. You said defendant refuses to take responsibility. You come in and say you let God handle his fate. The defendant does have a prior history as an assault that occurred in Virginia at 17 and carrying a dangerous weapon openly while on school property. She cites that up. I already explained the reasons for all that and everything. Never had a prior history of assault. It was an actual a confrontation, and the dude stepped to me, and I defended myself, popped him. I ain't even get to swing on him my whole, because once I popped him, I went to swing the other one, and so he fell back, and his face was messed up. I didn't even catch him. I stopped the left, and the next one, I hit him with the right one to connect, and I was like, oh, all right, he done. I already saw he was done. I left him alone. So, what you call it? But they take anything they can get to make you look like a criminal, whether they make it up, find something, and then slice it up, whatever the case may be. If they could try to make you out to be a criminal, that's what they're going to do. So that's why I wasn't even tripping going through this situation. They say aside from that, as an adult, he has no contact with the criminal justice system. Never had no contact for real. It was just stuff that they was making. Even when that incident happened at VA, they told me to leave so I wouldn't get in trouble. And then instead of them explaining that to the police when they arrived or whatever, they tried to make it look like I did something wrong and Slim was the victim. But he came in my neighborhood talking about nigga this, nigga that, and all this wild stuff and stepping to me. So I'm like, bro, you tripping. You from how you gonna come in my neighborhood and where I live at? You don't even live in this area, and you talking all this wild stuff and tripping out this junk. So, but none of that, all that was brushed away. I'm the one who got charged. He ain't get charged for nothing though. Once again, the system, man. Wrong people in positions of power. They say aside from that, as in no contact with the juvenile system, you could look at that and say, well, this is really an abnormality, and he should be given credit for the fact that he's been okay as an adult. Or it can be looked at as, I want to encourage the court to look at it. Here's a person who has the ability to explode to such a degree that, and for no apparent reason, and is not under the influence of drugs or alcohol at the time that he shoots a man in the back of the head. Wow, that is really something, because we have no anticipation, no idea of what may trigger this type of behavior. In some ways, it is more dangerous than people who have lengthy criminal records. Once again, anything they could say to make you look like a criminal, they will organize the mess out that information or articulate it in such a vicious way, or poetic. They will. How I want to put it? They will poeticize. They will poeticize a criminal act off of anything, Slim, and make it sound so elegantly criminal to the fact that you be like, oh my God, this man can't just be stopped. He cannot be in society doing these type things. Bro, they vicious with it, son. And she knew the truth. She knew that Slim did something wild, pulled out the gun for no. The only person that used a firearm in a crime of violence, in the commission of a crime of violence, was Slim, and he was never charged. Me or none of my people used a handgun, a weapon in the commission of a crime of violence. It was to deter further criminal acts of this individual from continually to proceed the way he was, and to do anything worse than what he already did. He hit my man with a gun, was allowed to leave, which rarely ever happens. For one, the police would have been killed that man. Other street people would have shot that man. People had the right, in my surroundings, had the right to shoot him as soon as he went to jump in the car to get the gun. Still didn't shoot him. After he hit my man, had the right to shoot him. Still didn't shoot him. Told him, Slim, you tripping out this junk. Go home, y'all. Told the shorty, let him leave. He had time to leave. 3 hours passed. He had time to think. He should have never came back if he was that scared to put out a gun on people that ain't even threatening him. For two, when he came back, he should have had enough time to think and be like, that was stupid as hell. Boom, boom, boom. I ain't soft for nothing, but I at least want to speak my piece and be like, Slim, I was wrong for that, or I was out of pocket, whatever the case may be. Hey, Slim, I was y'all tripping, and that's not how I get down running up. Whatever the case may be. You don't come right back talking about you gonna smoke the man, you ain't fighting him no more, you gonna shoot him, you just not. Matter of fact, when I see him, I'm gonna get him out of him. No, bruh. You don't come back doing that. The state's attorney knows this. They know that. So why wasn't he charged? We already know it's all about being set up. He had a criminal record already. They was content with his position as being a criminal in their system. So they wanted us to look like criminals so they could put us in their system too. That's all it was about. Incriminating our people, our youth, our children, people who was not a part of what they're a part of, because it's about money for them. It's about benefit from it. The more people they can incriminate, the more people they could not have 401ks and all this other stuff, benefit from jobs and all that type of stuff. So when you come home, now you're considered a low life or whatever the case may be, where you shouldn't be able to get a good job, a job that pays enough to sustain your livelihood and all that. You should be getting jobs that you penny pinching every day and you can't afford to live in our world and society. That's what they think, that's how they look, that's how they structure this. It's by design, you feel me? And it's designed that even if you're not a criminal, they're gonna make you look like a criminal just so they could benefit from making you look like a criminal. So this is wild out here. So he said, so her approach to that was, that night Mr. Force was just doing what he was doing, going to the club and hanging out with his friends, meeting a girl or not meeting a girl, whatever he was doing. He was carrying out his life, and Mr. Cox decided that when he pulled that trigger that he was going to change Mr. Force's life forever. Either he was going to take it away or he was going to alter it somehow. He does not have the right to do that. Get the hell out of here. So you mean to tell me she knew? This is how vicious the state's attorney are and these people in these courthouses and these systems. They know the truth. They know what's going on. They know what happened. But they will still play stupid and manipulate the situation to advance their position and strategy. So now she's trying to say that we acted out of nature, out of context. We overtly did something in an overt act, out of the ordinary, that was extreme, to harm someone who was going about their day not trying to do anything wrong and had no intents of doing anything wrong and didn't do anything wrong, when the fact was the Slim was out of pocket the whole time and he was all the way in the wrong and started initiated everything. But this is what they do to our people, son. Boom. Again, he said before you and says I didn't do this, but the state can prove it, but I didn't do it. I was just there. The gun belonged to everyone. It was mine. It wasn't mine. Mr. Gady says the gun was his. But we not disputing nothing about no handguns. It was more than one person out there with a handgun. And that's why I presented my situation the way I did. Because it was to the point where they tried to make it look like even if I had a firearm on me. And I had one on me. I did. If I had one on me, I had to be guilty of doing something criminal. No. Just because I have a handgun does not mean that I was the only one with the handgun, which I was not. And it doesn't mean that a possibility of someone else or someone did or whoever did shoot him. I'm not going to say who did what, who didn't do what. I'm not going to say I did anything or I did not do anything. All I'm going to do is allow you. You said you had, you could prove a case against me that I did something wrong. But they never proved the case against me that I did something wrong. All they did was lie about everything. So that's all I did. Allowed them to prove my point that they are willing to lie, deceive, and set people up, knowing that they are really innocent, but they don't care. That's all I was doing, allowing them to prove that. And they let me sit in prison for 12 and a half years, knowing that they lied on me the whole time, because they ended up giving me, as you're going to see in these transcripts, instead of 5 to 10 years within the guidelines, the most I was supposed to be getting is 10 years. They capped it at 30 years, never said nothing about 5 to 10 years no more, and gave me 45 years, all suspended but 20. So how does that happen? And they want us to just accept this, knowing that they lied and deceived our people all these years, and every time we go in these courthouses. This is the type of games they play with our people. And then expect us not to get angry or mad or be hostile or feel a certain type of way, which they know that's what happens. But they organize our feelings against us. And they organize a situation to make it look like they're innocently doing things, and they're presenting facts and all this other type stuff, but they're manipulating it so that they can make us look angry and hostile for no reason, but the whole time we got every bit of reason. And I had the right to lash out in court or say something or speak out on it, but at the same time, I already know it was a setup anyway, because like I told my man to them, they're going to lie and try to set us up, bro. It ain't no honor in these police and all these in these systems, man. I already seen it before. Seen it too many times, too many years. And they keep lying about, oh, we making changes for the better. No, man, they making changes when they get caught. When they get caught doing something wrong, they make a change just enough to try to get away with it the next time and not get caught the next time. That's all it's about. It ain't about doing the right thing. So they say he should be given credit for the fact that he has been okay. No. Reading at the bottom, my fault. Your Honor, the state capped itself at 30 years in terms of sentencing. The guidelines show something quite different in terms of where you can fall with the sentencing guidelines in order to depart from the guidelines. Now, this is how beautiful the situation was. because you just see clear lines of deceit all through this, and you know they are mastering the courtroom and the courtroom settings and the information and how they're documenting this information. They set it all up because this is how vicious she is, man. This is how vicious she is. She said, Your Honor, she's stating the facts of the cap. She said, Your Honor, the state has capped itself for 30 years, which was never explained to me until after they tried to initiate the plea hearing, and after they said it was 5 to 10 years. But then when they started on the record, they came up with 30 years out of nowhere on the record. But before, when they was initiating the so-called plea deal, they said it was 5 to 10 years. But as soon as the record started, they misrepresented the whole plea and made it look like it was a cap of 30 in 30 years. So I'm like, how the hell? So and they continue to try to document this on the transcripts so to make it an official part of the court record. But watch this. Your Honor, the state capped itself at 30 years in terms of sentencing. The guidelines show something quite different in terms of where he would fall in the sentencing guidelines. But she never said what the sentencing guidelines were. So is that a coincidence? So why wasn't the guidelines of 5 to 10 properly documented in the court record? Because they knew they was being deceitful. It's by design. It's a practice, a common practice, and a deceitful practice that they continue to use against our people continuously, daily. That they are mastering this courthouse and proceedings and situations in a way that they are practicing the deceitful tactics as deceivers to get away and really getting away with it. Because on docket, when lawyers was looking at my case, they go, oh, no, they sentenced you within the guidelines. Bro, how you know what my guidelines is? You never let me explain. And when I explain the situation, they still play stupid because they all part of the system. They are benefiting from it, and they don't really care about what's really going on or what we going through because we're not benefiting them. If I give him $50,000, $80,000, then he's gonna be like, oh, matter of fact, the guidelines ain't here, but I believe what you saying. I'm gonna go ahead and make this work for you. But if you ain't paying them no money or nothing, or they ain't benefiting from it, and they see that you've been wrong and it's the right thing to do, or you could sue them and he could make some money that way, they not helping you, bro. Because the state and them are working together. That's all it's about. They're benefiting each other. It's a system. It's by design. So, first thing she do, she makes reference to the guidelines. She say the guidelines are something different. It's supposed to be 5 to 10 years. That was the guidelines. She said, but in order to depart from the guidelines, the state is aware that the court has to find some aggravating circumstance. She immediately tried to give reason to go outside the guidelines. Immediately. She made reference to it, but never said what it was, and then immediately went to try to make it outside the guidelines. She said the state is suggesting that the aggravating circumstances here is mere callousness of the offense and a lack of the defendant taking responsibility for the offense for his actions. Hold up. So you know this man was in the wrong, and me and my people wasn't in the wrong. So you saying we just supposed to be victims? That's all they saying. You got to listen to what they're saying in these courtrooms and to our people and through their actions. You say actions speak louder than words. You know them by their fruit. Yeah, we live this daily. So what she is saying is, because we didn't choose and allow ourselves to be victims, they want us to be punished. Because they have a system set up to where no matter what happens, they play the hero. And whoever is victimized, they make it look like they're helping the victim in attacking and bringing to justice the criminal. But if you defend yourself, they're going to make you look like the criminal. And anybody and do anything else and say, I dare you, do something contrary to what you're supposed to do, because you're supposed to allow yourself to be victimized in these communities and accept it and allow us to benefit from making it look like we're honorably defending you when we really don't care about you. That's what they're saying. That's what they're doing. Boom. Then, on top of that, she says, one of the aggravating charges that it didn't admit or take responsibility for my actions. And I didn't admit. The plea deal was an ABA, according to what it said, ABA, a binding plea agreement of an alpha plea that states I did not have to admit guilt of anything. But yet you're saying that because I won't admit guilt, you want to go outside my guidelines to enhance the punishment and enhance the sentence. So you just breached the terms of the plea agreement. So how can you do that? This is the state of Maryland government corrupt individuals in positions of power. This is what happens. You say, therefore, you should sentence the defendant to 30 years, 25 years on the first degree assault, and 5 years on the handgun to run consecutive. So they was like, boom, boom. However, the judge knew that, in essence, to make it consecutive, it wouldn't have been consecutive because it would run into each other. The only time you could do in addition to is if it's a continuous repetitive offense, so on and so forth. It's a whole bunch of stuff behind that, and the elements and all that other stuff, because one merges into the other and everything else. Because it's clearly evident that the handgun, I ain't even gonna break all that down because I'll break that down in my motion to correct the legal sentence that I'm gonna talk about later on, to correct and vacate a legal sentence. So so she asked for 30 years in totality, 25 for the first degree assault, and 5 years for the handgun to run consecutive. So she said, Mr. Ford's death in one end now. His life has been changed and will never forget the events of that evening. The defendant's life has been changed and will never forget the events of that evening either. He has a great family. That is one thing he has going for him, but he did a very, very heinous crime. Thank you. That's the state's attorney closing out. And he said, Mr. Ford's present. And he said, yes. The state's attorney, the court, Mr. Ford, if you had anything you would say to the court, if you come forward, he said, no. You don't have anything to say? He said, no. So they asked about the girl who's supposed to have been the state's witness, and I asked the lawyer, so-called defense attorney, to subpoena her to court. They said she's not a key witness no more. However, if she's no longer a key witness, why is you bringing her in a court at sentencing and acknowledging her in sentencing as a possible witness against me, when her actual testimony was in my favor and proved that I wasn't lying and I wasn't in the wrong, or anybody else that was with me? She said, I think she would have been the lady, or what you call it, something. And he said, no response. So the defense attorney came on. This how deceitful they are. When I was calling her as a witness, and to call out the false information that they filed against me in their affidavit as a rebuttal, and to prove that they intentionally falsified information, you know, they what you call it, they didn't have her as a witness. They didn't want her to come into the courtroom. But now that they manipulated the situation for me to plead guilty, now they're trying to make it look like she's an effective part to solidify the original argument that they presented in the first place, to make it look like it was true in fact finding. They very deceitful, you know. Ms. Sagarelli, this is so-called defense attorney. I would like to say a few things in regards to what Ms. Garner has told the court. For one thing, although what Mr. Cox did was inexcusable, I would like the court to keep the whole incident in perspective. This is the funny part. She said, I would like the court to keep in mind the whole perspective. It isn't as if Mr. Ford had been totally innocent person and just being out about his business, going to the club and doing things as a normal young person does on an evening out, and this came about without anything preceding it. In fact, he had come with a weapon. He had been the initial aggressor in terms of starting a fight, pistol whipping and acting in a violent manner, and really started the ball rolling on the violence. There was a long period of time between, and so certainly there is no real self-defense in a legal sense. Any issue here that way, but when this incident occurred, it had been for a good deal of time after Mr. Ford's actions. It wasn't like he hadn't done anything prior to the shooting, and this shooting just came out of nowhere. So finally, after the plea, during sentencing, the so-called defense attorney admits that Slim had a firearm, that the state knowingly knew that he had a firearm, even though the state tried to deny it and play it off. Both of them had the same information, shared the same information. They was working together the whole time. And she admits it. Only reason she admits it is because it's for face value, for her personal benefit as a counsel, because now it's going to make it look like she tried to argue something in my favor. But if she would have argued this initially in a preliminary hearing and all the other hearings, I would never have been charged with what I was charged with. None of my peoples would have been charged or locked up. And at the same time, what you call it, even if they tried the charges, they would have had the charges to a lesser of offense. And there's no guarantee we would have been found guilty of that either, because of what actually happened. You feel me? So they waited until after all this stuff happened, after they set the plea up, and then try to make it look like, oh well, we did know that he did have a firearm and he did do some wild stuff, but technically because he left and came back, it was really too much time there, and there was really no self-defense, because nothing is premeditated. Nothing me or my people did was premeditated. You can't premeditate a situation that instantly happens right then and there. We didn't leave and come back. Slim left and came back after he already did something wild, and then reignited a situation even more after already doing something wild. You don't even have to argue self-defense, and it's clearly that these people who shot him wasn't in the wrong. It's clear. So it's wild as a mug, man. This is how deceitful these people are, you know, when they organizing in their courtrooms and courthouses and stuff, and utilizing their home field advantage in these courtrooms and stuff, in these legal systems. So what you call it? I know what you read. I know that you read the statement of charges, or at least read part of the file, so that you are aware as far as my client not accepting responsibility. All I can say about that, Your Honor, is I think it has a great deal of that to do with his relationship with his parents. I know that it sounds strange, but in a lot of ways it's very naive, and he is baby. He is very immature. What his parents think about him is important to him. His parents cannot, they just can't get to the point where they believe that this has happened after all that time, after all the time, effort, love, and caring they put into raising him. They cannot accept the fact that he would do something like this. Slim, vicious. So now this is the so-called defense attorney. Now she is piggybacking off the fact that I should be taking responsibility for acting. I should be admitting to something, but you're doing something, or confessing to something, and so on and so forth. When the alpha police say I don't have to admit to nothing. Why did you argue and force me and coerce me into taking an alpha plea stating that I don't have to admit guilt, but based on your facts and information, you could lock me up, and you have enough information to convict me just because of the information you presented, even though it ain't true and none of that other stuff, and it's all false information. It's enough information that you generated and you're accepting in your field advantage, in your home court and home field advantage, to manipulate this system to your advantage to make me look guilty. And I have no defense on anyone in my corner or side, even when I had letters and recommendations and all this stuff from the community, but the court wouldn't accept none of these letters or anything. They said, no, we can't accept that, because it was proven that they was painting a false image of me in my community and amongst my people and peers and so on and so forth. But they didn't want that. They just wanted all one-sided information and wanted to present it the way they wanted to, so they can make me look like a criminal. That's how vicious they are. I'm just trying to say it's because my family, this, and they came up with some bull crap. What the hell? That don't have nothing to do with what really happened. And why I was acting the way I was doing what I was doing, because I was allowing them to prove this is how deceitful they are. And they do this in front of people. Like when I go back to tell you about the story of Jesus, they was able to deceive people into thinking this man was a criminal after all the good things he did. And that's how powerful deceivers are, son. They got the power to tell people. You could be in a relationship with someone, you could like someone, you can care about someone, and they able to go and say, oh, well, I know you like him, but do you really like him? Do you really know who he is? And instead of you taking time to go and figure out, is the information they're saying true, or going out your way to figure out what's really going on, or why something happened, you'll start believing the lies because they that crafty, they that deceitful. You'll start believing stuff and start looking at this person negatively, or be scared to interact with this person, and that's how it was. When you start reading that story, you start to see the truth behind it. You really know what you think, what you're supposed to know, and how to understand things. You start reading, well, his disciples was denying him. His right hand man and them people he walked around with, they saw him performing miracles, looking out for people, giving people food, all type of stuff, looking out, healing people, all that. And they was like, well, I don't know that. I don't know who you talking about. And then, man, he denied him 3 times, and then came back and said, oh, man, well, I'm going to preach that. Bro, stop playing, man. This is how deceitful. These stories are proving that they was able to lie and set people up in front of people, make them look guilty when they wasn't guilty. Lie on them. Even if you do something, it don't even mean that you're guilty of a wrong. You could accidentally kill someone. You could kill somebody. You could shoot somebody meaning to shoot them, but not really have a premeditated or certain intent that requires for a certain type of punishment or to be punished in and of itself, because it could be justified, understandable, all type of stuff. But they're manipulating the system to benefit them. They don't care about you or nobody else unless they can benefit from it. That's all it's about. So they was able to do that, and that's what they've been doing to people for years, son. Them stories ain't out there for no reason, and they keep trying to destroy them stories and manipulate these stories to their advantage, and manipulating and deceiving people and saying, yeah, this is your religion. This is, you gonna tell me what my religion is? Sam, I got the right to believe what I want, and my belief don't really offend you or this and this and that. I got a pure religion and belief system. You ain't gonna corrupt me with your bullcrap talking about I gotta believe this and I gotta believe that, and if I don't believe this, then I'm going to hell. And man, get out of my face, huh? I used to listen to people. I had one man, my right hand man, y'all, he blew me one day because he actually gave, and he ain't blow me because he gave in, but he blew me because he didn't stick with what he knew what was in his heart. The man was speaking the truth about a situation and teaching in the Bible, and how his personal relationship with God and quote unquote Jesus. And because you got personal relationships, and then you got the relationship they create for you. And he had a real personal relationship, but and I'm listening to them tell him stuff and teach him, and I'm listening to some defend himself, and he was on point. He was on point the whole time. And I couldn't say nothing because I didn't want to influence him, because I didn't want my influence to alter his relationship, because he needed his foundation to be stronger through himself, and he didn't understand that, and he allowed himself to waver in that belief, and he became a disciple of their teachings, because he didn't understand his real relationship with those teachings and who he was, and his spiritual powers and elements of his relationship with those stories and stuff, and who God is to him and Jesus is to him. He accepted their relationship with the relationship they wanted him to have with a concept of Jesus. And I was like, dang, son, you missed the ball. You dropped the ball, you missed the mark, bro. But it still was salvation somewhere in there for him. But at that point in time, he dropped fumble. And I just had to let him grow and learn on his own. But that's still my right-hand man. Because Slim really, he had a heart. He had a good heart and a heart for what he was really doing. So, but that's how it is, man. It's real out here, bro. So, continuing on, he said, therefore, what they are saying to him almost constantly is they got the wrong guy. This isn't your fault. You are a victim. This is the problem. It is very difficult for somebody with his maturity level to get up and admit responsibility for his actions when he is getting this kind of feedback from home. I'm not blaming them. I'm sure it's very difficult for them to come to the terms with this. I want you to know this is where it is coming from. This is where he is having trouble accepting responsibility. I wanted to mention, I'm sure you have noticed they are all here. His parents both here. All kids are here. I did not have a problem accepting any type of responsibility for anything. But what I was not going to do is admit to doing something that I didn't do and have you lie and make it look like you did the right thing by setting me up and lying on me. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. You feel me? So, she just making up stories to try to justify their position against my position, to make it look like I'm in the wrong and they're in the right for pursuing me and doing what they did to me. No, you tripping. And this is where the psychological warfare come in. Through all this stuff is psychological warfare, you know? Social manipulation, all that. So, I say finally, I would ask you to take a look at the sentencing guidelines for the two offenses to which he has entered the plea of guilty. I would ask your honor to consider staying within the guidelines. One other thing, if he doesn't accept responsibility, he is not going to get into the protection program, to the protection youth center, because that is one of the first things they do during the interview and evaluation. If a person isn't willing to appreciate the consequences of what they have done, they will not try to work with them. I will make him understand that. So that will have to come first. Ta-da! Thought I was lying, huh? Thought I was lying. So you mean to tell me this defense attorney who just stated this is the one who initiated a plea deal that stated that they recommend me for a protecting youth program, misrepresented the program? But before I get to this, you notice she said something about the guidelines, right? And to stay within the guidelines. However, she never state what the guidelines were on record. They never put what the guidelines was on record. You telling me that ain't by design? That they not consciously, intellectually deceitfully manipulating what's going on in these documents and how this court proceeding is being handled and ran. You telling me that? But they immediately put 30 years, cap of 30 years. This and that. Everything negative that they could try to say against me to boast the sentence and everything had no relevance. 30 years was never considered in anything. When she first came at me before all this happened, and like a couple days before I actually went to this plea hearing, which was supposed to be my motion, I explained all that stuff, and she said I was supposed to go home that Monday. Monday came, I ain't hear nothing. Then she ended up coming to see me, and then she tried to get me to talking about the state wanted to give me a plea of 30 years. I'm like, son, I'm not taking no 30. I'm not taking no plea. Don't come in with no plea deal. So I was trying to get my discovery packet, because she would never give me my discovery packet or none of that. So I'm like, man, so if I'm turning down 30 years initially, then you set up a plea deal without me knowing it. Take me to court for a plea hearing. I'm telling you I'm not taking it. Now you're telling me, okay, well, it's going to be 5 to 10 years, this and this and that. This is the best thing you can get. Boom, boom, boom. But then we get in the court, and then you manipulate and lie about the 30 years again. Now you're not giving me 30 years, but you're giving me a sentence with 5 to 10 years, which is the guidelines, but then you cap it at 30. Why would I take a cap of 30 years that I already denied you 30 years in the first place? Because I'm not, a cap means that I'm still allowing myself to be subjected to a possibility of 30 years. This is the type of deceitful, manipulative stuff they have been doing for years and years and years, and playing it off like they're not doing anything wrong, and allowing these police to set us up, allowing us, put us in positions. They're controlling the economic system. They're controlling how we work and what we do at our workplaces and jobs, how much money we can make. You get to making too much money, then they setting it up, or they creating jobs where when you go in there, you making a lot of money, but they creating a way for you to lose that job. You feel me? It's always some type of scandalous practice going on and corrupt practice with these systematic oppressors, man. It's vicious, man. And then she telling me that even though I took a plea, they initiated an alpha plea. Say the only way I would be able to take the plea, they believe the only way I would take the plea is if it was an alpha and I don't have to admit to anything. But now you just put me in a program and recommended a program that for me to go to that requires me to admit guilt to be accepted into this program, in which I still ain't admit doing nothing. I just explains my situations and so on and so forth. I never said I did anything, or all I did was gave a scenario. All I gave is scenario basis. Nowhere, no form of time did I ever, when going through this, or any time during my prison sentence, did I ever explain my situation to anybody about what really happened in my case. Because I had to prove that they was misrepresenting, deciphering, and trying to misrepresent our information, deciphering information through our mails and phone calls, and all this type of stuff. Even though you're guilty of what they saying, or you may be innocent, they still organize it to make you look guilty. After I proved that, years down the line, only one person did I tell anything close, and I gave scenarios and stories to. Only one person. It was a female that I was writing, because I had to allow her to prove that she cared about me or not, really. And she proved that she was a deceiver too. Hey, she was vicious with it. She was weak. I couldn't have her as a female. She was too weak. She allowed people to deceive her, and she gave in to a deceiving spirit, and she became a deceiver. So I couldn't even deal with her. But and then when they start using information, and that's why another reason why I gave it to her, because once they start using that information, I'm like, okay, so you using this information years after you wrongfully convicted me and lied on me. So now you think you got something of substance, you're gonna use this information against me. But I just proved that you didn't get this information till after here. So how did you even try to make it look like you had evidence against me ahead of time? And then I had a dude on my unit. He was from my neighborhood in DC. And I'm laughing because I'm like, yeah, boom, boom, boom. And he thought he had something. I ain't tell you nothing, bro. I just made you think something, and you ran with it. And then when I put it out there, he tried to make it like, oh, dad, boom, 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 and play stupid. And I'm like, bro, I already know your kind, son. You the weakest of the weak, son. You don't get no respect from me, because that's what y'all do, Y'all get locked up for being real criminals. And when somebody who get locked up, who ain't even a criminal, who you know ain't even wrong, you will sit there and lie on them and help set them up so you can benefit from doing wrong. It's not, I can't respect you, son. I respect you more. Be like, dang, this brother locked up for some bull crap like that, man. That's messed up. If anything, you should have been trying to take the charge with somebody that's messed up like that. Like, nah, but man, I can't even let you go down like that. I'm messing my life up. I ain't even gonna let you mess your life up. They not real, man. These fake images of these gangsters and police and all this other stuff, man. It's a manipulation game, man. It's a manipulation tactic, man. I know guys that's more honorable and defensive, man. Ain't never been locked up. Got big respect for other people and all that, but will bust your head and all type of stuff when it comes to their family and their community and so on and so forth, because they don't play that. They real men, you feel me? But they don't want to hurt nobody, you feel me? But they got this image that you got to be tough, you got to be ready to hurt anybody, punch anybody, shoot anybody. No, son, that's the images they portray for you. They give you that monkey see, monkey do mentality to make you think it's okay. So when I'm going through this in these trials and stuff, everything I'm speaking from the heart. I'm speaking in scenarios too, so you can understand why it's going on and what's happening and why our people react and act the way we act. I didn't go in there and act all super tough, and I came from a perspective of, look how you setting us up. This is what you doing to us. I'm not a criminal. I'm not acting like a criminal, none of that. And then they wonder why people, when they get time and all that, they smile. Get 99 years and they smile, they laugh or whatever the case. It ain't because they real criminals, and some of them are though. Some of them vicious like that. But some of them, they be so hurt, so full of pain because they've been set up. They've been put into a systematic oppression status of their communities and stuff, and dealing with family members that ain't nothing and ain't never try to help them or build together or help create a better way, and they do stuff out of ignorance or desperation and stuff, and then when they penalize for it or punish for it, it's like, I did with the best I could do. I could have did worse, but I didn't. I made better decisions than what I could have, because I could have did this and that. I could have killed these people for this reason and did this and that, but I chose not to. I just chose to rob or take something in the hopes of giving it back or not hurting them when I did rob them, but it's still wrong. But these are the type of decisions they making, because it's designed for them to do that. And some people don't understand that, and some people accept it, and some people say, take it on the chin, and they never do nothing like that. But this is what's going on out here, man. It's real. Anyway, it say, I will ask your honor to consider a sentence within the guidelines, because a very lengthy sentence will keep him out of the Protection Youth Center. I'm sure he had something to say. And that's when I said, he said, the court said, Mr. Cox, this is your opportunity to speak to the court and say to the court would be relevant regarding the question of this sentencing. From the heart, watch this. And I'm giving perspective, because I'm allowing them to see how deceitful and vicious they are as criminals. That they know I was innocent of what they were saying and they was lying on me, but they still set me up and sacrificed me to their system, knowing that I was not guilty of what they said and I was innocent. They say, first off, I'm sorry I have to see people here today on this type of occasion. Say, I'm sorry for the victim and his family. I pray for them every night. I'm praying he will get his hearing back and everything, because they lied about his hearing or whatever. So he said, I'm sorry my family has to go through this, and everyone has to go through this. Things like this go on this earth. I don't know how my parents will take what I have to say, but this accepting responsibility thing, I don't have no problem with that. He said, that is why I'm here for today. I owe an apology to God, and I ask him to forgive me and for saying that what I said to the PSI lady. I'm putting it in proper perspective, because now I'm proving that, hold up, you telling me the PSI, they not even supposed to ask you anything that pertains to that adjudicates to any type of guilt. All they supposed to do is give background information, so on and so forth. But what the state has done is manipulated the PSI process to make you look like, make it look like they're just extracting, they're just getting information, but they're actually extracting guilt, whether you're guilty or not. They're trying to force people to make them look guilty. And sometimes, some cases, some people be guilty and then they finally admit it. But in some cases, you may not be guilty of what they're saying, or even if you did do something similar to what they said, you may not have done what they said. So they still want you to admit it, because it makes it look good for them, to make it look like you really wrong or you really did something. I ain't had no responsibility, problem admitting no guilt or nothing if I did what they said, but they was lying. So I ain't trying to hear none of that. So I said I don't have no problem with that. I had told Mr. Sally once again, when I broke it down, I gave her a scenario of what happened. So the lawyer, the defense attorney, to see if she was going to take that information and try to use it against me. She definitely did. Because when I was at the plea hearing, I was like, man, I'm not taking no plea. She's like, but you told me you did it. I'm like, that's my point. See what you just did? And she tried to play it off. And I'm like, my point exactly. It don't matter if I said I did something or not. You are supposed to be my defense attorney. I'm not asking you to lie for me or do nothing wrong. I'm asking you to defend me as a defense attorney and not misrepresent me and allow me to be represented in this courthouse and in this courtroom and in front of people. I have that right. That's my right to an attorney, which you are not an attorney or a defense counsel, because you allowed them to lie on me and set me up. And then you participated in the setup and then tried to use information that I gave you against me and allow them to further lie and set me up. Point blank. These people vicious, huh? They say, what you call it, and due to defense, and I said, Miss Sakurati, what happened and everything, and due to the defense I felt like, that was, I shouldn't have ever done that. So now I'm putting it in perspective that I'm giving her information. I'm letting the judge see this. Now this is me speaking to the judge, because he's supposed to be a righteous judge, but he wasn't. Honorable, but he wasn't. I'm saying, I told her something just to see if she was going to run her mouth and set me up and help set me up. And she sure enough did run her mouth and try to help set me up. Instead of going off the real facts of the case that she knew was right. Like when I told her, I said, man, they lying. The state, I said, the state, so-called state witnesses who running off of hearsay, I said, man, they lying. The lawyer, this so-called defense attorney tells me, who am I supposed to believe? What you mean? How you going to defend me and you don't even believe what I'm saying? You're not even looking at the information that's right in front of you. Which automatically shows that they're lying on me, and you're telling me that you don't know who you're supposed to believe. So you're basically saying you don't believe nothing I say. You don't care about nothing I say. You just want to take the safe side for anything. So how am I supposed to go to trial with you? How am I supposed to continue with you? And you wonder why I'm trying to fire you and get you off my case? Deception, man. This bullcrap they do. I was going with my heart. That's what I did with my heart. Because I saw that she was a deceiver, and I went on and what Jesus tell Judas, go on and do what you do. We already know what time it was. You don't play these games about the Bible, son. We already know what time it is, son. We put it in a proper perspective out here. We ain't playing games. He said, I pray for the victim. Yes, what happened, and everything. I broke it up the first time, and I didn't know, I didn't want nothing to happen that night. I broke everything up, and after everything happened, the second time it was out of my control. I feared for my life. So I'm putting in a proper perspective. For me or anybody else, what we supposed to do if we fear for our life? And what are we supposed to do? If this man leave after he already hit somebody with a firearm, come back as a judge, you really mean to tell me you're going to convict someone or allow the plea to be accepted when the facts of the case don't even add up, and this man standing in front of you telling you this in your face, and the facts ain't adding up, and these people clearly lying on him, and he's telling you that anybody in this situation who would fear for their life would probably do the same thing. How is this even right or fair? What type of judge is this? You gotta be working with these people, as I already know. These are the type of deceivers we going up against. The gangs. This is the gangs we going up against, Sam. In our communities. You see, I don't know what was going on. So I don't know, y'all. I don't know, y'all. You tell me what's going on. What's really going on? Am I wrong or am I right? Is my man wrong or is he right? Whoever shot him, is they wrong or is they right? Because Sam was clearly in the wrong. Your state's attorney and his defense attorney is in the wrong. Your whole police officers and detectives in your system is in the wrong. Now, what is you going to do as a judge? Is you going to be in the wrong too? You going to just let this happen, huh? You going to just play it off and allow me, and just you going to continue with the sentencing? Bet that. So I prayed for them that night. And, that is why I was leaving in God's hand, because it was God that saved them. It was nobody else but God. I just say I love my family. I don't know. I'm sorry everything had to happen. I wish everything, the world didn't have to be like this. I really don't know what to say, Your Honor. God bless everybody, everyone. I just pray that God will put it in your heart. A decision and fit for my life, that is it. The court considers, quite frankly, the statement of charges that was read when the court was presented with the plea agreement, and the question as to whether or not there's sufficient evidence upon which to accept the plea of guilty, understanding that it was an alpha plea, which don't have to admit guilt. The statement of charges are such that the court believes that this nature of the offense merits going above the guidelines. How are you going to go above? Now, it goes into my motion to correct and vacate a legal sentence because they was never supposed to go outside the guidelines. But anyway, he said the court was sentenced outside of the guidelines. Maybe not so far as the state would have it. The court reached. I will acknowledge the youth, your age. I will also acknowledge the admission of guilt, but the understanding that it seems as if the state might have had a convincing case for attempted first-degree murder. Ms. Saccarelli, Your Honor, could I just interrupt for a moment? There was one other condition of the plea that I would like to make sure you are aware. It is my client has waived his right to reconsideration. That is all. Now, this is the defense attorney. I personally never waived any rights. I personally never waived a right to reconsideration or anything else. All I did was allow them to continue to set me up and allow me so it could be documented and proven that this is what they've been doing to people and they done to me. She stopped the court, the judge, and made it and wanted it on the record that I waived my right when I didn't waive my right because my right was part of the plea deal. My right to reconsideration. Why would I waive a right that I'm entitled to and it's going to benefit me in the long run? It don't make sense. But this is the type of deceitful practices and acts that they continue to do to people and play it off like they doing nothing wrong and they innocent and they all for doing the right thing and they not killing our people using their legal system. They vicious, man. They say the court, thank you. As count 2, first degree assault, the sentence is 25 years. And so he did give me 25 years for first degree assault. The state attorney only asked for 5 years on the handgun. He said 25 years. He said the sentence is 25 years, suspend all but 20. So he gave me 25, but he suspended all but 20. Then he said credit for time served commencing April 24, 2001, 237 days. As for count 4, use of a handgun and commission of a crime of violence, felony crime of violence upon the victim, Mr. Ford, the sentence is 20 years. So instead of giving me 25 and 5 years, as the state's attorney asked, he made it look like, oh, I ain't going to go that high. I'm going to give you 25 years, which is the maximum sentence for first degree assault. But I'm going to suspend 20 of that. But then I'm going to come back and do, I'm going to sentence you to 20 years, a concurrent 20 years, all suspended except for 5 years. So I'm like, hold up. This don't even sound right. So you gave me 25 years, all suspended, but 20 years. So you only took all 5 of the first degree assault. You only took all 5 years of the 25 years. So you left me with 20. Then on the other offense, you said you suspended. You gave me 20 years, all suspended except for 5. So now you gave me 20 years, took away 15, left me with 5 because they claimed that was 5 years mandatory. So that left me with a total of, 20 years. It was actually 25 years, but they merged into each other, which made it 20 years. So he basically gave me almost what she said, but way more. Because once you look at a suspended sentence does not mean that it goes away. It means that the time is allocated. If you happen to violate or anything, they can actually give you that other time as backup. So technically, I still had 45 years. So he gave me way more than 30 years, technically. But on record, as it's documented, it makes it look like they didn't give me that much. But they gave me 45 years. But he dropped it down to make it look like it was less than 30, which was beneficial to me. But it was still way more than the guidelines, which they never supposed to depart from the guidelines, and they never show on record what my guidelines were, which was 5 to 10 years. So he said those 5 years are without parole under Article 27, Section 36B, Section D. They actually sentenced me under the wrong article. They redid the sentencing without me going to court. Any modifications such as that, they supposed to take me back to court, and according to the law, they supposed to take me back to court and modify the sentencing in court. Instead, they just sent me a piece of paper saying that the sentence was modified according to this, not under this section, that section, and so on and so forth. Once again, another illegal sentence. They say there will be 5 years of supervised probation. There will be no contact with Mr. Forbes and no contact with the girl. How you gonna tell me not to see my friend? This the government, son. This is the corrupt system, right? Because they're gonna tell me who I can and cannot see, because they took it upon themselves to proceed with an action. She ain't ever had a problem with me. I never had a problem with her. But now they making it look like I can't see this person because of a court order that they organized and ordained out of pure disrespect. This is how vicious they are. They think they just do whatever they want. So the courtroom recommends evaluation for Protection Institute Youth Offender Program. The court finds the youth to be indigent and waives the court costs and declines to assess the public defender's fees. So they basically saying, I don't owe no money to the court for any fees or the public defender office or anything. I already paid the little punk $60 anyway though. So now they're making it look like they helping me and benefit me, but they not, when they already took my money out anyway. So the court will waive probation, supervision fee, believing and accepting that the extra money may be good for trying to get a job. And I want you to pause right there and get this into your head. I already wrote the probation officer out. They switched my probation officer. I had a guy. They was like, oh, guy ain't being strict enough for me. He ain't following what they want. He's not doing what they want him to do. So he took and put a female on it. Big butt, this and this. Now they thought I was gonna be one of them geeking dudes, but oh, he giggity. No, Slim, I don't care about none of that. They thought she was gonna manipulate me and sway me into thinking and doing certain things. And no, Slim, I'm not here to please you, be anything about you. But I wrote her up because she was trying to set me up. I already knew she was trying to set me up. She was on some bull crap. She threatened me the first time I saw her. I was like, Slim, you don't even know me, this and that. You automatically throwing threats at me. I don't know you, Slim. I already don't like people in these situations because of how y'all run things, and y'all are very deceitful and brainwashed. You know, a lot of y'all don't care about, is this person really a criminal, or is this person a really good person, or did he mess up or do something wrong and really trying to do better? They don't really care about that. It's about, they coming in there trying to make you do whatever they want. That's all it's about, making you do what they want. So I wrote her up. In response to me writing her up, she lied, falsified information, and made it look like I was guilty of a parole violation, and I owed the state $4,000 some $100. They say the court, this the judge, in sentencing, the court will waive probation supervision fee, believing and accepting that the extra money may be good for trying to get a new job. I go home. I'm about to go. So they thinking, oh, he ain't gonna come on record. They making it look like the judge is lenient. He's respectable. He waived these fees and he was so honorable and all this and that. But in reality, even though he waived these fees, this is the state. This is the deceptive tactics. Once they waived the fees, in reality, they try to say I owe the state money still. They said I had to pay supervision fees and all this other type stuff. They locked me up, saying I violated parole because I refused to pay supervision fees, and I told them I didn't have to, and it was already waived. And they still locked me up and had me locked up for 3.5 months on a violation, and then tried to tell me they can give me more time because I had a suspended sentence. But instead, they want me to pay $100 for a drug treatment jump that I never went to and I never needed. But in it's mandatory, I pay this $100. Basically extortion. They extort people. Try to extort me. I wasn't gonna pay the money, but I said, okay. I'm already telling them in court. I said, man, I'm already suing y'all in the state of Maryland for $64 million. And I got it in Greenbelt. He said, oh, you got it in federal court, huh? I said, yes, I do. I said, but they trying to make it look like this and this and that. I said, so I'm giving them a hint like, son, I'm not playing with y'all. So he still wanted me to pay $100 for something that I didn't know. I didn't need a drug program. I never had a problem with drugs or none of that. The only thing I was ever addicted to was cigarettes, and I kicked that a long time ago. I haven't smoked a cigarette in like 23 years or so. So, I hate the smell of cigarettes, all that. And, it took me 3 times. On my 3rd one, I went cold turkey, and I was done. But, what you call it? So, I paid it. I paid the $100. I agreed to pay it and paid it so we could have, a tracking on the account that they was holding our money in from extorting us through their legal system of saying that we owe the state money when we really don't owe them money. That's the only reason why I paid it. So I can have accountability and a document and a copy of my a copy of my information through my my money order. Through the money order that they had me pay for. That was the only reason. But this is how vicious they are. And on dockets, it say that I don't owe no money, but you locked me up and lied and had the police lock me up. That's a criminal act. So now all I'm doing is just adding this to my initial lawsuit that I filed in 2014, 2015 against the state of Maryland of conspiracy, because once again, conspiracy is still happening. It's still happening. They're still utilizing their legal system to set our people up and manipulate information and documentations through their through their courthouses and through their dockets and their police officers and stuff, and allowing their police officers to lock us up illegally and then say, well, we're just doing our job. We're just going off the information they gave us. No, bro, you got to do way more than just go off the information that they gave y'all, son. You's a slave, son. You brainwash. You just do anything you want for money. That's what they doing. You just doing anything for money, son. Because you getting a paycheck and you're an officer, you just doing whatever just to get some money. Because you condemning these other people for doing stuff that's lesser evil than what you done did for money. You saying they're wrong and how vicious they are and criminals, and you disdain them and hate them and despise them, but then you just did the worst thing. You're supposed to be an honorable law enforcement agent and all this other stuff, and you breaking more laws than the people you locking up. Get the hell out of here, man. Anyway, so my lawsuit is still pending and continuing because all these people getting added in my lawsuit. All of them. The police that locked me up illegally and tried to make it look like it was legal. The police who knew that they falsified information on my driving record and they tried to falsify and wouldn't renew my license, and they kept, instead of them trying to research and find out, like any other time, they'd go out their way to research and find out something they can to incriminate us, but they won't go and research and find something outside of their line of duty and job and all that to prove that we was innocent in the situation. They continued to write tickets on me and try to get me locked up and lock me up on false information, son. That's how vicious they are. They talking about we just doing our job. So you just saying your job is to just be a criminal, but say you're a good guy and that you're honorable and respectable, but the whole time you just a real criminal and you just don't care. You deceiving people. Alright, go ahead and do your job, bro. So they say as to the remaining counts of the indictment, Ms. Garner, the State's Attorney said they are enrolled as non-prosecuted. It was non-processed, Your Honor. The court, Mr. Cox, you have 30 days within which to appeal your conviction. Within the days of noting an appeal, you have to make a written request for transcript of the proceedings. You also have 30 days within which to seek a review of sentence that the court has imposed by a panel of 3 judges of the 7th Judicial Circuit. Your right to seek reconsideration was accepted as part of a plea deal. Your right to reconsideration was accepted as part of the plea agreement, and that was waived. You can't set up or not. What is it? You telling me I waived the right that I was entitled to that's working in my favor for me to get a more favorable sentence later on, or be in a better position later on? You telling me I waived it when it was a lawyer that did it? The same lawyer who set up a plea deal that I told her I wasn't taking in the first place. The same lawyer who been lying and helping the state's attorney lie on me the whole time and say she don't believe nothing I said. Who is she? When I told her they lying, she said, who is she supposed to believe? Come on, man. This is in y'all face, bro. It's in y'all face. You say, that was waived. He said, good luck. We have some papers for you. Ms. Sacarelli, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Garner, thank you, Your Honor. If I could be excused, the court, yes, you may. I have put one more thing on record under murder law. You will not be eligible, at least generally assuming that you are in the Protection Institute as Youth Offender Program, until you serve 1/2 of the time of your assault charge, first degree assault. Thank you. That was never explained because according to the lawyer, once again, defense attorney, she said no matter how much time I get, because the protection program is based off levels and it's 6 months per level, even though I get more time, even though I get a certain amount of time, if I stay out of trouble, I can complete the program in 2 years. Stayed out of trouble, man, they had me locked up in that by itself. It was like 10, about 10, 11 out here. So on that note, I'm going to holler at y'all, catch y'all in the next one.